Great to see all of you tonight, slowly trickling in. Or tonight, if you are on the East Coast, you also might be somewhere else in the United States. Maybe it's the early evening on the West Coast. Maybe you're somewhere internationally, and maybe it's the morning or even the afternoon, or maybe it's the middle of the night for you. But we are all glad that you were able to join us for this virtual info session. I am going to share my screen. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. First off, I just want to say congratulations again on being admitted into the University of Massachusetts Amherst class of 2029. So you all did it. Just want to again congratulate you. It was a very tough application pool this year. We will kind of go over that a little bit later of those numbers specifically. But I just also want to welcome you tonight to, again, the flagship campus of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So my name's John Moore. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission. I'll do a little bit more thorough introduction in a little bit, but just wanted to quickly welcome you all for our evening. We will be online for just about an hour or so, giving some time to go over some very specific information, kind of next steps, what to do if you are deciding to come to the amazing university. And I also have three amazing tour guides with me tonight. They're going to be answering some of your questions, especially you have a very specific question that you want a student answer to. So, we're going to go over some quick introductions. After that, we're going to do some kind of getting to know the University of Massachusetts. I'll then talk a little bit about financial aid, kind of talking about the bill, the due dates, all that good stuff. Then we're going to end with, again, that question and answer with our three current students. And then lastly, doing that next step of saying yes to UMass, as well as staying connected if you do have any follow-up questions after tonight's presentation. So, with that being said, let me do a little bit more of a formal kind of introduction for myself. So again, my name's John Moore. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission for the University of Massachusetts Amherst. I am actually regionally located in Seattle, Washington. So for those on the call tonight coming from the West Coast, you might have seen me either at your college fairs or in your high schools. I do cover the Rocky Mountains West. And I do read for the College of Engineering, specifically the mechanical engineering degrees. So for any students tonight, again, getting admitted into that mechanical engineering, I probably read your application. I'm going to pass it over to my three amazing tour guides, and I'll let each of them kind of introduce themselves and a little bit about what they're being involved on campus.
All right. Thanks so much, John. Hi, everybody. My name's Indira. I'm a junior here at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. I'm a dual degree candidate in legal studies and a bachelor's degree with an individual concentration in a field called environmental refugee displacement. I'm also a part of our 4+1 accelerated master's program in the field of public affairs. I'm originally from California, but I'm coming to UMass from New York right now. So if I have any out-of-state kids, totally get where you're coming from. Feel free to ask any questions. And aside from being a tour guide, which is the best job on campus, I'm obviously not at all biased when I say that in the slightest. I'm a proud member of the University of Massachusetts Minutemen Marching Band. Our latest performance was in the 2024 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which was such a cool experience. I'm forever grateful that I got to go and do that. I'm a member of the Commonwealth Honors College here on campus. I play on an intramural soccer team through our intramural rec sports program, and I volunteer at a soup kitchen in Amherst Center through our civic engagement and service learning program. So that's a little bit about me. Shyla, do you want to introduce yourself and go from there?
Yeah, thanks, Indira. Hi, everyone. My name is Shyla. I am a junior kinesiology major on the pre-physical therapy track with a specialization in developmental disabilities and human services. I'm also a member of the Commonwealth Honors College, so if anyone has any questions about the Honors College, make sure to definitely put it in the Q&A section of today's little info session. I'm originally from Orange, Mass, which is a super small town about half an hour from UMass's campus. So I am kind of what you'd consider a local. to Western Mass. Outside of being a tour guide, which just like Indira said, is the best job on campus. I'm also on our ballroom dance team. I'm a competitive dancer as well as the treasurer for the team, so I deal on the more financial side of the team. I am also a resident assistant for first year students. So right now I live with, first year students to UMass, what you guys are going to be next year. And I just kind of help your guys' transition from high school to college. So make sure when you're choosing your housing, make sure you put Southwest as your number one choice because that's where I'm going to be living next year. So I can be your RA. And I'm also a sports medicine intern for UMass Athletics. So I'm kind of helping out in the training room with our athletic trainers for any injuries that any of our athletes get. And specifically right now, I'm working with our baseball teams, but I also work with other sports as well. And then just passing it on to Sophie.
Thanks, Shyla. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie, and I'm a senior political science and journalism major. I'm also a member of the Commonwealth Honors College. I'm originally from Marblehead, Massachusetts, so I'm an in-state student. And aside from my academics, I am a DJ for our campus radio station, WMUA Amherst. I also used to be a resident assistant in our Southwest residential area. I didn't know you're going to be in Southwest next year, Shyla, so that's exciting. But last spring, I also studied abroad in the south of France.
Great, thank you all. So as we start to move into the presentation, again, I will be going over a lot of information tonight, but in the chat, there is going to be that Q&A function of Zoom. Feel free to ask some questions as we are going through tonight, especially those specific student questions that you might have for our 3 students, and they will be answering those throughout the night. If for some weird reason, maybe there's a general question that is something good that we're all gonna, kind of have a lot of questions on. Our tour guides may answer that live over, voice rather than messaging you back. So just be aware that it may take a moment for your answer to get, or your question to get answered. So moving on to, again, just getting to know us. So we are ranked number 26 for best public universities. And of course, we have to talk about the #1 campus dining for the last 8 years straight. That #1 campus dining is such a huge and important factor for a lot of students, meaning that you're going to have the ability to eat some good food, even if you have dietary restrictions, which I know I personally do have. Whenever I'm on campus, there's no question, can I have this food? Can I not have this food? We're also in the top 30 for LGBTQ friendly campuses, and we also are investing a lot back into our campus community. So we recently finished building a new residence hall on campus. We're currently building a new computer science building. There's a lot of new things that have been built or remodeled in the last couple of years. So again, we're constantly having and leading that way of innovation by bringing all that money back into UMass to provide better labs and better opportunities for you all. We also do have a huge, strong alumni network of just about 300,000 alumni, all scattered throughout the world. So it's not just located in Massachusetts, though a lot of our students do like the ability to stay in kind of the Northeast area. But even out on the West Coast where I'm located, I get a lot of parents, a lot of, people on the street see me wearing my UMass sweatshirt, just talking about how great they had their experience whenever they went here. We're also in the top 20 for coolest schools in America. And what that means is that we're very much on the leading edge of environmental friendly campuses, a lot of sustainability, eco-friendly. We have a lot of different programs on campus to, again, make us in the top 20 for that. And lastly, where we are located is in Western Massachusetts. So we're not located in Boston. We are just about 2 hours west of Boston, and only about 3 hours from New York City. So not too far away from these major cities. But Western Mass is such a gorgeous place, especially during the fall. And at this point, I'll kind of leave it open to any of the tour guides to maybe talk just a little bit about what it's like living in Western Massachusetts.
So I'll probably take this question just because, I grew up around here, I go to school around here, pretty much Western Mass. it does say, 2 hours from Boston, 3 hours from New York. So if you did want to go to those big bustling cities, it is doable to do like for a day trip. It's a really great thing to do with friends, but specifically in Western Mass, and also Amherst specifically, we have our own like specific campus. So it's not really like going to school in a specific city. And then so we have like our own specific campus. And then also downtown Amherst is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of, mom and pop shops. There is a bunch of restaurants. Like I personally love going to Pasta e Basta, which is this amazing Italian place. There is also a few other, I do see a question of can you surf in Massachusetts? It's going to be a little bit farther from Western Mass, just because we are pretty land bound around here. But we do have a sailing and surf club. So that is an option while you're here. But specifically in Western Mass, our nature out here is absolutely beautiful. So if you love going on hikes, if you like going on bike rides, if you love going, just exploring the outdoors with friends, we have Puffer's Pond, which is a pond, super close to campus. It's a free bus ride away. It's a really great place to kind of appreciate nature out here.
Great, thank you. So moving on to a little bit more about our on-campus community. So we do have just under 23,000 undergraduate students on campus. So overall, I like to say that we're kind of in between that medium to larger size university. And even though we are a large university, there's many ways to still make it feel nice and small. We do offer a lot of smaller class sizes. There's a lot of clubs that you can join. Our residential academic programming or RAPs, which again, I'm sure the tour guides will talk about in a little bit. But we also do have that diverse student population. So 36% of our students identify as students of color. 20% are their first in their family to go to college. We also do have 100% of our first year students actually living on campus. So even if our students are coming from locally kind of nearby, again, Orange or some other places in Western Mass, they are still wanting to live on campus to, again, be a part of that on-campus UMass community. We do also offer over 90 different majors that, again, you all were admitted already into in our 10 different schools and colleges. And again, over 400 student clubs and activities and athletics to get involved in here at UMass. Indira, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the clubs that you're involved in?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely say the biggest club I'm part of is going to be our marching band. There's around 400 of us. We meet every single afternoon to kind of rehearse, go over our field show, go over our music, stuff like that. I will definitely say I had never marched before I came to UMass, and we don't require any marching experience. And I think that's just really emblematic of kind of like the spirit we have here at our school. The idea that like you can get involved in extracurriculars even if you don't like have any previous experience with it. My freshman year, I joined a just for fun rec volleyball team, realized that I'm absolutely horrible at any sport that requires any amount of upper body coordination, so I just stuck to soccer for the rest of my college career. I've also gone to a couple of meetings with the UMass Legal Studies undergraduate board, which is just kind of one of my like academic clubs here on campus where I can network with other legal studies students. We sometimes get talks from graduates of the program as well as people involved in the legal field, so we kind of get like a good idea of like what our futures might look like, stuff like that. And we do like a lot of bonding events, like we went apple picking in the fall, which was really fun. So I got to meet students in my major, and I also got to like make friends and hang out with them too. So yeah, I would definitely say get involved in a club or an extracurricular while you're here as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. And Sophie, do you kind of want to talk a little bit about how there's many ways to make UMass feel nice and small and kind of find your close-knit community?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we always like to say you can make a big school feel small, but you can't necessarily make a small school feel big. Personally, one way that I made living on such a big campus feel more manageable my first year was I joined a residential academic program or RAP, which is basically a living learning community where you live on a hall full of students who are also taking one or two classes alongside you. So you get to know each other kind of intellectually in the classroom and then socially in the hallway. And, should you grab meals after class or at night? Some of those students became my best friends. Now, as a senior, I live off campus with three of them. So that was kind of my first go at making UMass feel smaller, finding my sense of community here. Since then, I've also found community in places where people have similar interests to me, whether it's music through the radio station, getting outside through the outing club, or whatever it may be. I even recently went on a service trip with just 7 UMass students I had never met before, but now they're really close friends. So lots of ways to find your sense of at a big school.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to be talking a little bit about different resources that, again, are free for students that we really want to welcome and support our diverse community on our campus. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see all of our different cultural centers that fall within our CMAS and Cultural Centers department. They do a lot of both outreach events in the local community as well as on campus. They also do hold their own kind of membership meetings and events for their own cultural centers. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a lot of different support services that we do offer for our students. So we do offer health services, disability services, student success, tutoring, religious organizations, kind of anything that you can think of. Between the three of you, is there any that kind of stick out to you that you have used personally, whether that be like tutoring or maybe, again, kind of that disability services or health services on campus, anything that you three can speak on?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Indira, would you like
No,
to
wait,
say
no,
something?
Shyla, you can go first because I have an idea of what your story would be, and this is important.
Okay, it's probably going to be a different story, but um, I know John mentioned disability services, so I'm most likely going to talk about that one. Maybe touch base a little bit on CCPH, Center of Counseling and Psychological Health. But right now, I am registered with disability services just because last semester I actually got injured. I fell and I ended up being on crutches for a while. And disability services is able to help with both, I would say like more short-term, disability accommodations as well as longer term where you would need to use it for your entire time here at UMass. So there is a bunch of services through disability services. Like I was able to get accessible van services to actually pick me up at my dorms and be able to bring me to my classes so I can still go to my classes. Being able to get extra absences when, I really wasn't able to leave my dorm and actually get to my classes. And then also there are academic accommodations that can be made as well. So if you need extra time accommodations during exams, if you need a note taker, this will be through disability services as well. I would recommend this summer, getting in touch with disability services if you know you'll need accommodations by the time you get here, just so you can kind of get like a head start and you can kind of get through that way. And then Center for Counseling and Psychological Health. There's a bunch of different programs through CCPH, which is the acronym for it. They have different little therapy, whether it is group therapy with other people or one-on-one with you and a therapist. Probably one of my favorite things through CCPH is their Let's Talk sessions, where they're just quick sign up 15-minute sessions. It's nothing permanent, so you don't see them, at the same time every week or every other week, but it's just sort of like a one-time 15-minute thing if you just like really need to talk about something or really need to get the benefits of therapy just in a very quick session. This would be a really great option. You just go on the website, quickly sign up for it, and then you'll be able to talk to someone almost the same day, if not next day. And then I'll pass it on to Indira because hopefully I didn't take anything that she was going to say.
I was just going to talk about CMAS and the cultural centers. So I'm Latina on my dad's side of the family. My abuelos are from Costa Rica and El Salvador, and I was super super excited to come to UMass because I had heard about our Latinx American Cultural Center, and I'm constantly over there for Hispanic Heritage Month. When the World Cup was playing a couple of like late spring, early summer a couple of years ago, we actually went and like had watch parties for the World Cup. So I got to cheer on the Costa Rican national team, which is really cool. We're not going to talk about the fact that they did horribly. It's fine. We don't need to discuss it. And then one time we also had a week where like we brought in cultural dishes from each one of our countries. So like I said, my abuela is from El Salvador. So I got to bring in pupusas, which are essentially like stuffed cornmeal pancakes. They're the best thing ever. I got to show them to all my friends and they absolutely loved them. So it was a cool way for me to be able to still connect to people within my community, even though we are on a campus of 23,000 undergraduates. So I thought it was a really good resource for me to know about and also for prospective students to know about as well, just because it's something that can make you feel a little bit closer to home while you're here.
Great, thank you. So, talking now about the 10 different schools and colleges that again make up over 90 majors, 60 minors, that bachelor's degree with an individualized concentration, as well as some exploratory tracks. So you can kind of see the wide variety of different areas that some of your fellow classmates, future classmates are on the call tonight, that might be, in the College of Education or in the College of Engineering or the School of Agriculture, all these different areas that we do have. And as we heard from some of the tour guides too, they are doing some double majors or they do have some of those minors in some areas outside of their main school. So it is possible to do a double major or a major minor or even a couple of minors or a double major and a minor, whatever the combo may be. And it doesn't have to be within your specific school or college. You do have that opportunity to take some classes outside of, again, the College of Public Health and Health Sciences or Natural Sciences. So it is kind of a great opportunity. Now talking a little bit more about Discover UMass. So this QR code will send you to our website to again kind of talk all these different things. You're going to be able to see all of the different 400 student clubs and organizations. You're going to find some more resources online that just kind of ways to make you feel more connected to the campus community even before you step foot on campus. We also do have a lot of different schools and colleges will have their own kind of newsletters, social media accounts, the websites. Again, this is kind of a great time website usage for you all to kind of look a little bit more closer into your major website. And again, get an idea as far as what classes you might need to be taking over the next couple of years here at UMass. So this right here is going to be kind of an important timeline for you all. So obviously this last October, it was supposed to open for the FAFSA, but we know that this last year, the FAFSA had some things that they were still working out from the year prior. So it did open on December 1st. Our FAFSA priority deadline was March 1st, so just a couple of weeks ago. And if we do need any additional verification, we are just now releasing and letting those specific students know. If you don't hear from us needing some additional verification for the FAFSA, you don't need to worry about it. Now, May 1st, that is going to be that big deadline that is coming up in just about 1 month. And that's going to be your final decision as far as where you want to attend your next 4 years of college. We will have our UMass bill available in mid-July, and then bills are going to be due mid-August. Now, there's many different ways that you can pay the bill. You could pay it in full at the beginning of each semester. You can also set up payment plans, but you do have to set up a payment plan prior to the bill being due. So make sure that you reach out to our financial aid office, and I will have their contact info at the end of this presentation, but reach out to them if you do want to do that payment plan option. Again, there's opportunities opportunities for both. And we do understand that right now it is kind of a stressful time for you all, especially with figuring out your final decisions. So our financial aid counselors are here and waiting to talk with you. Even if you haven't fully made your decision yet about coming to UMass, they still would love to chat with you and just give you all the information that they can. This right here is going to be our estimated cost of tuition for this next year. So for those that are in state, those that are out of state, as well as those international students, again, you can kind of see those different price differences. The room and board is going to be basically the same for everybody. The international one is just a little bit higher because it does include health insurance. But again, that right there, the email, the number, as well as their website is listed right there. So I'm going to leave this up for just a couple more seconds, let you all either take a photo, write down the email or the number, or maybe even navigate to their website to, again, get that contact and that specific questions that you have about the cost of tuition as well as the financial aid questions available. Perfect. So the next step is obviously saying yes to us. So that May 1st deadline in just about 1 month, you do have until May 1st to make that decision. Some students on the call maybe have already deposited, and that's great to see. Some other students might take until April 30th at 11:59 p.m. and then finally go in and make that, deadline deposit before that May 1st deadline. So it's really up to you when you feel is the right moment to say yes. Now, due by the middle or the early part of June, so June 5th is going to be that complete the guide to the U. And you also will then register specifically for and select your date for the Ready for the U, which is kind of like our orientation. You also will have the opportunity for the housing preferences that do open up in June. And then lastly, you do still need to submit your final high school transcript once you graduate. So it does need to have the graduation date on your final high school transcript. Most of your high school college counselors will automatically send that to us, but just make sure that you do connect with your high school college counselor to remind them that we do need that official end of high school final transcript, again, with your graduation date. We also will have the new student and family programs. So again, as of right now, in just a couple of days, if you have already deposited, you could start and access the guide to the U. It does open on the 7th of April, so just a couple of days away. But again, it's not due until June 5th. So even if you want to wait until that May 1st deadline, you will still have a couple of weeks to complete the guide to the U. And you also do have to submit your U card photo. So again, that's going to be your student ID. It's going to get you into the different buildings on campus. You're going to use it pretty often. So make sure that you have a good photo, as that will be on your photo for the next 4 years. Talking a little bit more about our Student Success Center. So besides orientation, again, there's many different ways that we kind of help and coordinate different ways to succeed and help our students succeed here at UMass. So I know a couple of our tour guides kind of already spoke a little bit about student success, but I know one of you three kind of is a little bit involved in similar to orientation, not fully orientation, but kind of that new student orientation. Do you want to talk just a little bit more about kind of the new student orientation?
So for this, especially for me, I was a summer tour guide. We kind of partnered with the NSOT leaders, which is the new student orientation leaders over the summer. So kind of like when you're getting to UMass and you're kind of getting accustomed to campus and like kind of that transition from high school to campus, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to come for either 2 days in person over the summer, or you can attend one of these sessions virtually, kind of get a general overview of campus. You get acquainted with like your small groups and you do just kind of like introduction activity stuff like that. So you can actually go to any of like our smaller workshops. So kind of like the Smart About Money workshop, that's one of them. First Gen Communities, Transfer Communities, all of these run during our over the summer orientations. And then once you get to campus, the Undergraduate Student Success Center is available for you to make use of while you're here. I will say it is a really good resource. I didn't know about it until I was a junior, which is this year. And then I was like, man, I probably could have made use of that my freshman year. So the Undergraduate Student Success Center is a really good resource for you guys once you come here. They are dedicated people who are there to help you to make sure that your transition from high school to college is as seamless and as easy as possible. So I'd say definitely start looking into the resources that they offer and just kind of get acquainted with what they do.
Great. And also on this slide, you're going to see both study abroad as well as the 5 college consortium. Do one of you three want to talk about both or one and then another student takes one of the others?
Yeah, this is like my favorite thing to talk about on tour. I mentioned I studied abroad, and that was a very impactful experience for me. Lived with the host family in France, took classes all in French. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted an immersive language experience, and so I was able to go to our Office of Global Affairs and find an advisor for French-speaking programs in particular, who helped me really find the right destination and help me work on my visa application, help me apply to scholarships, and so on and so forth. And that was all great. But honestly, I would say the most impactful experience I've had at UMass has been taking classes through the 5 college consortium. If you're unfamiliar with it, basically, UMass is part of a network of 4 other schools, 5 schools in total in the Pioneer Valley, which is this part of Western Massachusetts. These schools include Amherst College, Hampshire, Mount Holyoke, and Smith. Smith and Mount Holyoke in particular are historically women's colleges, but all 4 schools are small liberal arts schools that are very prestigious and with a price tag to match that prestige. But as UMass students, we can take classes there, as many as 2 every semester at no additional fee. I've absolutely loved the classes I've taken through this program. I've taken 3 at Smith, and now this semester I'm taking 2 at Amherst. I wish I had started doing this sooner because the quality of professors, the quality of conversations we're having in these classrooms are amazing. But then at the end of the day, I'm able to come back to UMass, where I never feel limited in the way I imagine I might at a smaller school like Amherst or Smith. So I highly recommend taking advantage of this program because it's a great value and a great way to kind of experience another learning environment while still being at a big public institution.
Great. And Sophie, can you just explain very briefly how easy is it to get to the different colleges nearby?
Sure. So for Smith, I ended up taking my car, but all 4 schools are accessible by bus, and that's how I get to Amherst College every day. I live right off of a bus route now that I live off campus, but even if you're on campus, there's even more buses available for you to take, and they'll take you to all 4 campuses in just a short.
Great. Thank you. So, again, these are some new things. Again, just kind of reiterating that May 1st deadline. This is also going to be the wraps. So, I know we already briefly talked about those residential academic programs, talking about kind of potential as to where you might live on campus. They do live in the same hall together, again, allowing you to kind of develop those classes and those relationships very early on with kind of similar like-minded students. So on the right there, you're going to see all of the different deadlines. Now, we do list all of the different opportunities of the specific wraps that are going to be on our website. So you can see all the different wraps that we have. Again, some of them are going to be from major specific, some of them are going to be just from general interest or background or whatever it may be. But these are going to be all the information that you can find as far as what the wraps are and the different options you have. So this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to kind of do a little bit more of that Q&A. So I have seen some great questions in the Q&A, and we're just now going to be talking some of those, again, that are maybe more broad that we think everybody might want to know the answer to. So please start asking your questions in that Q&A section, and all 4 of us will kind of start answering those.
Yeah, is it okay if I jump right in with a question I saw about the 5 college consortium? Great. Okay, so someone asked, can you explain the advantages of taking classes, whether at Smith or Amherst College, and how does UMass support that? And I'm happy to hear this is the first time you're learning about this. I know for me, learning about this, it really made kind of the difference when I was choosing to come to UMass. I think some of the advantages are that these schools are a lot smaller than UMass, so you may be in a smaller class size. Further, those are all liberal arts schools, whereas UMass, I feel like our focus is really on research, and that's in the humanities. The professors over there, I just find that they teach kind of from a different angle. They offer different perspectives than maybe some of the ones I've heard in my UMass classes. My favorite class probably that I've taken at UMass is one I'm taking right now on James Baldwin. And James Baldwin is, a famous American writer who actually taught in the five colleges. But at Amherst College, they have a professor dedicated to, his whole, I want to say discography, but that's not the word you'd use for a writer, but nonetheless, his whole catalog, we've just been going through it, and it's just such a high quality class. The professor is so engaging, and as a result, the students are so engaged. The discussion is amazing. So I don't mean to gush just over Amherst. We're here to talk about UMass Amherst, but what I love is that I'm able to go over there, take a really interesting, very niche class like this one, but then at the end of the day, come back to again a big school where there's just more options for things to do than at Amherst, which I think where the student population is like 2,000 or something. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
All right, so I also saw a question coming in about um specifically like study abroad programs and exchange programs. So like what year or semester would you recommend? A lot of people that I usually see do spring semesters compared to fall semesters. And then a lot of my friends actually do their spring semester of junior year. That seems to be an also very popular option. But there is a bunch of times that you can study abroad or do like an exchange program. So like I know specifically for the class of 2029, there are options to study abroad for your first semester of freshman year. I believe in either London or Madrid are two of the options this year. So you might have found out through either your UMass email or through your acceptance letter if that option was available to you. There is also both semester long and full year programs as well. It does depend on the country and it does depend on the specific classes that you're taking. And it also gets very specific when it comes to like what major you are. Like I know for nursing, the only time that you can study abroad is the fall semester of your sophomore year. So if you just so happen to be a nursing major, that is when you're going to be studying abroad if you want to. That's definitely not required to. But there's also study abroad options in the summer and also winter sessions. So right now, I am actually planning on studying abroad during our winter session. Where pretty much I'm just studying abroad during winter break. So I'm just taking one class actually abroad in Italy. So I'm just going abroad for 2 or 3 weeks and then I'll be back on campus for spring semester. And then you can transfer credits back from overseas. We do have a UMass study abroad portal where you'll be able to, it's pretty much all of the programs that already have a partnership with UMass. So you'll be able to get all of the classes that you've studied abroad and then transfer it back to campus and then have it applied to whether you're taking general education classes abroad, you're taking specific major classes abroad, but you will be able to get class credit for studying abroad in all of the classes you take abroad.
Just to talk a little bit about the question that we got about what on-campus dining looks like, and then specifically how people with dietary restrictions kind of navigate that transition, I will say, like John mentioned, we have been ranked #1 in campus dining for the past 8 years now at UMass. It was 9 as of last week, which is really fun and exciting. One of the reasons we have been ranked #1 for so long is kind of the accessibility of our dining. So UMass is dedicated to making sure that any student, regardless of any dietary restrictions they may have, can eat healthy, fulfilling food while they're here on campus. So whether that means you're vegan, vegetarian, halal, kosher, if you have severe food allergies, if you have a gluten intolerance, anything like that, you can actually work one-on-one with a registered dietitian in all 4 of our dining common commons to have meals specifically prepared for you, free of any cross contaminants. So one of my best friends, he has celiac disease, so he can't eat any gluten. Any single time we go to a dining hall, he always goes straight for the gluten-free section. He's always said that it's awesome. So while I can't speak to the quality of it, I have his word on it, which is awesome. And also in terms of like making sure that you're not potentially eating anything that has been cross-contaminated. On all of our meals that we serve, there's like a little title card. So it gives you the name of the meal, the nutritional information, stuff like that. And then also in bright red ink at the bottom, it alerts you of any allergens that might be in that meal. So just as you're going around, you can be really tuned in to what ingredients are in what meals. So then that way you can make a really informed decision about the food that you're choosing to eat. In terms of navigating off campus with dining, I will say, since we have been ranked #1 in the country for, 9 years, the majority of our students will choose to eat here on campus. It's a great resource. But if you want to eat off campus as well, there's a bunch of different restaurants and eateries that cater to different dietary restrictions. So I will say I've never felt constrained here while I'm in Amherst, whether that be on campus or off of campus, in terms of the food I'm eating. Unfortunately, we can't give you guys a taste of our food through the screens virtually. So if you guys ever get the chance to come and visit us in person, I would definitely recommend checking out any of our 4 dining halls. And then just monitoring.
There is also a question that came up about how easy it is to make friends. And I have been through this problem multiple times, not only from my personal experiences as a freshman, but then also sort of living with freshmen for the past year and kind of seeing, I've gotten multiple questions, like sort of seeing them go from, just moving in to making friends that way. So a big part of making friends is actually the people that you live with in your building, just because, they're the people that you're going to be seeing around the most, just because you live in the same building with them. This is a really great way if you are involved in a RAP, a residential academic program, where not only will you be living with these people, but you're also going to be taking a class with them. So you're going to be taking one class with the majority of your floor, everyone that lives on the same floor as you. Mostly it will be either in the classroom that is in your building, or it's going to be in a classroom in the building right next to you. Specifically in my freshman year dorm, it was the building right next to us. But pretty much you're just taking class with them. So not only are you living with them, you also have a common class together. Also, if you do come in person to orientation at UMass, that's also a really great way to meet friends as well. I actually met my best friend at orientation, and her and I are still friends to this day. Last year we were roommates. This past year, since I'm an RA, I have to live in a single, so we weren't able to live together. But this Saturday we're actually going to a concert together. So, 3 years strong, still best friends. And we met, the summer before we actually came to campus. There's also clubs on campus. You heard us at the beginning talking about all of our involvements, just kind of making friends through things that, we all have in common, and have clubs together. And then also in your major as well. So making friends that have the same major as you as you're taking classes together. So there are a bunch of ways to make friends on campus. There is also a bunch of freshman specific things. So freshmen move in before everyone else. And during those few days that it's really just first year students on campus, I believe it's called Frosh Fest. It might be a different name, but they get like food. There's usually like inflatables. There's maybe sometimes a bounce house, not 100% sure. They have a DJ, and it's just kind of like getting all of the first year students together, just kind of, mingling and getting to know everyone. And that's a really great way to kind of know people too. So there are a bunch of different ways to kind of make friends. And you will find friends in the most randomest ways ever. Like if you ask a random person to sit at their table during lunch, and just start talking. I had a wonderful conversation about chickpeas one year, when I asked to sit at a random table. And, we actually became really good friends just from that random conversation. So again, finding random, friends in a bunch of different ways.
Just to talk a little bit about the question about the environment at UMass and like how students and teacher interactions in and outside of the classroom. I will say 23,000 undergraduates kind of sounds daunting, especially if you're like me and you're coming from, a tiny high school in the corner of Brooklyn that my graduating class was like 150 students. Um, I will say one of the best ways to get to know your professor, stuff like that, is going to be going to their office hours. UMass professors are required to hold office hours at least once a week. So this is where you can go in and, ask clarifying questions about the material that was covered in lecture. But this is also where you can just like talk to your professors. I went to office hours one time for an honors professor of mine, and she and I had tea and cookies, and that was such a fun experience because I literally just like got to talk to her, and we were talking about like all of the books on her bookshelf in her office, and like she gave me some really good book recommendations, which was awesome. So just kind of like small interactions like that. I will say we have an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So even though we do have 23,000 undergraduates, there are going to be professors that you make those close connections with and you kind of start to get really close with. In terms of student interaction, both in and outside the classroom, a lot of our higher division classes, so that's going to be like our 200 and 300 levels, are especially in the honors college as well, are going to follow discussion based models of learning. So that's where you're kind of like given information, but then you discuss it collaboratively with your peers and your instructor. So it's kind of a more interactive style of learning that also lets you get to know your peers. And then outside the classroom, like Shiloh was saying, it's really going to be those like kind of organic connections, asking to sit next to someone when the dining hall is kind of crowded, or, running into someone in the hallway of your freshman dorm and being like, oh, I saw on your Instagram that this is your major, this is my major. Just kind of like those kind of everyday connections where you start to get to know people. I will say my freshman year, I ran into someone in my honors dorm, and he was holding a trombone case. And for context, in marching band, trombone is the instrument that I play. So I was like, hey, that's a trombone. Like, are you a trombonist? And we've been friends ever since that. And I go to all of his jazz concerts, which is really cool. So just kind of those small interactions that kind of bring you closer to people and kind of help you find your group on campus.
I
There,
see
oh,
a
go ahead,
question about,
Sophie.
oh, sorry about that. I see a question about some of our dislikes about UMass Amherst. I think on a lighter note, sometimes the wind can be a lot. If you've ever walked by our W.E.B. Du Bois Library on a windy day, there will be a strong gust that may or may not blow you over. But regardless, as long as you bring a heavy winter coat, you should be fine. I think something that is not so much a dislike, but something that I kind of had to warm up to with UMass or just get adjusted to is that at such a big school, you really are going to have to learn how to advocate for yourself. I think that something that UMass really encourages is independence. So I think sometimes students experience a learning curve when they arrive here and realize, sometimes your high school professors will kind of comment, oh, in college, no one's going to be holding your hand. And then you'll kind of really feel what that's like once you act on tour or during these virtual events, often go underutilized, in my opinion. I wonder, Shyla or Indira, if you would agree. But I think that it's always worth trying something at least once. And it sounds like cheap words, but asking for help, there are lots of options here. You just have to kind of learn how to ask for them when you feel like you're, starting to.
I know definitely like asking for help, especially when I was injured. I definitely, asked, my professors for help. Um, just kind of ways to make classes more accessible when I couldn't really walk there from my dorm. And then also asking disability services for help. So that's also something. I would say the wind is a very real thing here, but we are in New England, so in September and May it does get very hot here. So sometimes the wind is kind of a blessing. It's just when it's super cold outside in the winter, that's when it starts getting a little bit iffy. And then I know John put in the chat about a major highway. The main way to kind of get to campus is Route 2 if anyone is, a Massachusetts local and know a little bit more about the highways. So you do kind of have to get used to a little bit of small town driving when you are out here, just because we are in the middle of Western Mass. We are in a very rural area. But being in a rural area does have its pluses. Not sure if Indira wants to jump in on anything or about anything.
I mean, yeah, I would say one of the things that I personally had to adjust to, for context, I live in Manhattan. I come from a city of 8.2 million people. And then I came to a college campus in the middle of western rural Massachusetts. That took a little bit of adjusting just because I was kind of used to like the hustle and bustle of daily city life. But I will say, after being here for 3 years, it's actually, UMass is kind of like its own little city on its own without like the dirty sidewalks and people running past you to try and catch their subway train. So like it's nice in the fact that it's very lively. There's lots of people and I feel kind of at home with the hustle and bustle, but I don't have to deal with like the hecticness of running to class super late. I can like walk through our very beautiful, New England campus and kind of get there. So I'd say it's the best of both worlds. I get to have the little city all to my own here. And then if I really want to go to like a big metropolitan area, I can go to Boston. I can go back home to New York. So I really say it's just a matter of getting adjusted to UMass's specific like vibe and just like kind of embodying the UMass spirit. And then just because I just saw it in the chat, we got a question of whether or not people choose UMass over their own state schools. Um, I'm an out-of-state kid. I'm coming from New York. I applied to some of the SUNYs, which for my Massachusetts people is the State University of New York system. So the SUNY's like the New York equivalent of the UMass system. I ended up coming to UMass as an out-of-state student. I think that as a state institution, UMass offered me kind of the best of both worlds because I was at a large research style institution, but I also was able to get involved in really, really specific major programs. I mean, I'm getting to design my own undergraduate degree because I'm a part of our BDIC program. So I ended up choosing UMass ultimately because I thought it gave me the best of both worlds with having the research opportunities and the support that I needed to really personalize my college experience and make it something that was applicable to me, who I am as a person, who I am as a student. So that's just my 2 cents on that question.
I also see a question specifically about internships, specifically about marketing internships or hands-on learning opportunities. Right now, I'm actually in an internship that's more geared towards athletic training and kinesiology. So I am going to talk a little bit about my experience just on the more general internships, but I do know that there are marketing internships available. And also within the Eisenberg School of Management, there are a bunch of different internship opportunities available. There is a very highly interlinked alumni network, specifically with Eisenberg and their graduates. So possibly getting an internship with an alumni is a really great opportunity. But we both have on-campus and off-campus internships available. Right now, my sports medicine internship is actually my third internship total. I actually got to live in Boston over the summer for an internship where we do offer dorm style housing out in Boston, out in Newton, Massachusetts. So if you are, an out-of-state student or from Western Mass, like I am, then you'll be able to, and you do get an internship out in Boston. There are housing options available, which is much cheaper than Boston housing prices. So definitely got to save some money there. But then also on campus internship options as well. Like right now, I'm working with UMass Athletics. There is also, I got to work with elementary aged kids last semester at an elementary school in town. So we have a bunch of different opportunities for anything that you're geared and really interested in. And you'll be able to find that out either through your advisor. We also have Handshake, which is kind of like, I'd describe it like Indeed for college students. It's kind of like another job posting opportunity where you can look at internships, paid positions, hands-on learning opportunities. And then also, um, just through the general, school or college that you're in, they might have opportunities that's open to all majors within that school or college. So we do have a bunch of opportunities for sort of, job experiences, internships, hands-on learning, because I know specifically for me, hands-on learning is how I learn the best. So having these internships is a really great way to kind of apply the learning that I am, learning about in class and then applying it to my future career.
Someone asked, they said, I understand housing is only guaranteed the first year. Can you go through your experience in finding housing off campus and how far the commute is for you? So it's a great question. I will say that when you're looking for housing on campus after your first year, there are still plenty of options. There's over 14,000 beds on the UMass Amherst campus. So that really means as long as you stay up to date with the all the deadlines that our residential life program will send you. There's plenty of options for you to continue to live on campus, even through your senior year if you want. But by the time students approach their junior and senior year, it is more common to move off campus. And how I went about that process was we have an office for off-campus student housing that's able to kind of coach you through connecting with local, I guess, what would you call them? Brokerages? I don't even really remember the terms, but regardless, there were people who were able to kind of help us meet, I guess, the people who would show us around different available rental properties around here. And once finding that place, what I really liked about where I live off campus is I live directly off of multiple bus routes, which means certainly I'm only like a 25 or 30-minute walk from campus, but I can also just take the bus and be on campus within minutes whenever I need to.
Great. So, with just about 5 minutes left, I'm going to reshare my screen. And I just want to, my final question that I always like to ask the student tour guides is, I know Indira kind of already talked very briefly about this, but what other universities were you looking at, and why did you choose UMass over those other universities? So if you three want to share that, and I'm going to leave up this final slide. So if you do have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us and follow us on social media. But I will leave it in the hands of the three tour guides.
Okay, no one else is unmuting, so that means I can go. Um, uh, what schools was I looking at? So for me, I applied to SUNY Buffalo, University of Maryland, UMass, and then I looked at Boston University, Northeastern, Tufts, and Brown. I was accepted into all seven. I ultimately decided to come to UMass. I think A, doesn't apply to everyone, but I wanted to be in the marching band. So that's part of the reason why I ended up coming to UMass. And then I ended up being able to play in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So I feel like that worked pretty well for me. Another big draw was our BDIC program. I knew that my specific field of environmental refugee displacement doesn't really exist as a major at any of the other colleges that I was looking at. So I really liked the fact that I could come to UMass and design a degree in that and graduate with a degree in that field. And also, ultimately, I came on a tour and I really loved the vibe. I liked the fact that there was an honors college, but I could also be a part of our BDIC program, but I could also, play soccer on the weekends and I could be in the marching band. So I like the fact that as a big college, I had all of these opportunities, but there were ways to make it feel smaller and more personal to me. And I've been here for 3 years. I'm going to be graduating next year, and then I'm going to do an extra year here for my grad work. So I will say I think my decision ultimately paid off in the end, and I think it really situated me really well to succeed later on in life.
So I was specifically looking at more, New England-based schools, trying to stay as close to Massachusetts as possible. So in Massachusetts, not only was I looking at UMass Amherst, but I was also looking at Fitchburg State, Boston University, Springfield College, a few other schools in state as well. Out of state, I was specifically looking in Connecticut, Sacred Heart University, UConn. I was also looking at University of Hartford. So I was looking at a bunch of different types of schools, definitely ranging from, smaller, schools to, bigger schools like UMass. I think the smallest school I applied to was New England College, and they had like 1,200 students total in their entire college. So that is a very small school. Pretty much the main thing that really drew me to UMass and really, you know, the main reason why I ended up here is kind of like how Indira was talking about with the opportunities that UMass was able to give not only her, but also all students as well. Um, So, like, I know when I was 18, I didn't know if I wanted to do research. I didn't know what type of clubs I wanted to get interested, like join. I didn't know what types of jobs were available to me as, an 18-year-old freshly in college, because I knew that I was definitely going to work through college, to try and help, pay off that college tuition, a little bit earlier. So I didn't know like really what I was interested. I was kind of lost when I was 18. But just because UMass has the opportunity to get into research if you want to. UMass has over 400 different clubs on campus where, at least for me, I've never ballroom danced a day before in my life. And then I came here and I absolutely fell in love with the team. I'm actually wearing my team jacket right now. I'm not going to turn around, but trust me, it says ballroom dance on the back. And I fell in love with it so much that I've been on e-board since I was a second semester freshman. So I was able to get super involved in a club that when I called my mom and said, I'm on the ballroom dance team, she was very surprised because she did not know we had, number one, she did not know we had a ballroom dance team, but number two, she did not know that I joined it. Just having those opportunities available there, is a very big draw to UMass just because, there's probably some of you out there that don't really know what you're interested, in yet, just like I was. So kind of, you know, getting a little bit um into like not sure 100% sure what you're interested in.
I know we're short on time, so I guess I would just say, long story short, as an in-state student, UMass always kind of felt like an option to me. What turned it from an option to an opportunity was honestly that five college consortium I talked about earlier. It's amazing being able to go to a school and pay in-state tuition and yet have access to, these prestigious programs at other schools, have access to number one campus food as voted by the Princeton Review for 8 years in a row, and genuinely just meet some great people along the way. So now that I'm approaching graduation in less than 50 days, I'm very happy with the decision I made, I guess now 4 years ago.
Great. Well, thank you all again for joining tonight. Please feel free to reach out with any follow-up questions, and we hope to see you be a part of the UMass community this upcoming fall. Thank you.